My parents blew through my $600,000 accident settlement to shower my brother in luxury, while I struggled through recovery with nothing. What they never realized? My lawyer had quietly attached a clawback clause to their house. The most difficult part about waking up after being unconscious for a long time isn't the pain or confusion. It's realizing that what you thought was a nightmare is actually your life now. I learned this the hard way 3 years ago when I opened my eyes in a body that felt completely foreign. My name is Natalie, and I was 26 when a drunk driver crashed into my car one rainy Tuesday evening. I remember flashes, the piercing screech of tires, the crunch of metal on impact, and a strange floating feeling as my car flipped down the embankment. Then, nothing. Welcome back, darling. My mother's voice was the first thing I heard. She was sitting by my hospital bed, looking impeccable as usual. We've been so worried. I tried to speak, but my throat felt like rough paper. My father appeared on my other side, holding a glass of water to my lips. Easy there, youngster. You've been unconscious for almost 2 weeks. The next few days were a blur of doctors, tests, and devastating news. Multiple broken vertebrae, severe nerve damage. The terms partial disability and long therapeutic recovery echoed in my room like unwelcome specters. But the encouraging news, the doctor said, trying to be optimistic, is that the driver's insurance is providing a substantial settlement, $600,000, to cover your ongoing care and rehabilitation. My mother gently clasped my hand. We will manage everything, darling. You simply concentrate on improving. I should have noticed the subtle glint in her eyes when she said that. My brother Quentin visited a week later, accompanied by his girlfriend Kayla and his usual imposing presence. Look who's finally awake, he announced, making my head throb. Goodness, sibling, you certainly have a knack for drama, don't you? Quentin, my father cautioned, but his voice lacked any real authority. It never had when it came to my brother. What? I'm just observing that the timing is somewhat opportune. My new business is just gaining momentum and... Not at this moment, my mother interrupted him, but they exchanged a look I couldn't fully comprehend. My friend Lena, a legal professional I had known since university, visited regularly. She helped me understand the specifics of the financial settlement, clarifying everything in her composed, systematic manner. You need to exercise caution with this money, Nat, she stated one afternoon when we were alone. It must last for an extended period. My parents are handling it, I informed her. They have established some form of trust. Lena's expression became strained. Permit me to incorporate something into the accompanying documentation, just as a safeguard. In case of what? She didn't respond directly, merely clasped my hand gently. Trust me on this. I didn't grasp her concern at that time. I was too focused on the fundamental aspects of recovery. Learning to sit upright without losing consciousness, battling the nerve pain that felt like electrical impulses traversing my lower limbs, trying to accept that my dreams of a medical career were likely unattainable. My physical therapist, Lucia, became indispensable. She challenged me rigorously, but possessed precise understanding of when to moderate the intensity. Your physical form is undergoing restoration, she would say, but your inner fortitude also requires healing. One evening, approximately a month after regaining consciousness, my father visited, still wearing his work coat despite the mild weather. As he hugged me awkwardly around the medical monitoring apparatus, something inadvertently fell from his outer garment's pocket, a bank statement. I managed to discreetly acquire it when he wasn't observing. The correspondence referenced a transfer of funds to an account in a distant state. That struck me as peculiar. We resided in a different state, and to my knowledge, we had no affiliations with the mentioned location. Is everything satisfactory? My father inquired, noticing my expression. I forced a smile. Merely experiencing fatigue. Hey, when can we start exploring those specialized therapeutic programs the doctor mentioned? Oh, well, my father suddenly exhibited intense interest in his phone. Your mother is managing all of that. We have to be strategic with the capital, you understand, ensuring everything is appropriately invested. That evening, I remained awake in my hospital bed, the terminology from the correspondence lingering in my consciousness. Something felt incorrect, but I was unable to fully connect the pieces at that moment. I contemplated Lena's mysterious caution regarding my mother's endless avoidance of the topic concerning the settlement funds, about Quentin's burgeoning business venture. My phone signaled with a text message from my brother. Outstanding news, just secured the lease on my new office space. Mother states you will be so proud when you observe what we have accomplished with the investment. Investment. The term struck me like a subsequent impact. I stared at the ceiling, my hands clenching the rough fabric of the hospital blanket. They wouldn't, I thought. They couldn't. But deep within, I already knew they had. Returning to the family residence felt akin to entering a distorted version of my former existence. Everything appeared superficially correct, but was subtly altered. My mother had installed a rudimentary metal ramp over the front steps, the least expensive model available according to the label still affixed to its underside. My bedroom had been relocated to the main floor, into what had previously served as my father's office. We exerted our best efforts with the modifications, my mother stated, pushing me inside using my wheelchair. The contractor demanded an exorbitant sum for those elaborate support rails and wider access points, But we discovered some sensible alternatives. Sensible alternatives meant I could barely maneuver my wheelchair through the entry to the bathroom, and accessing the sink was like solving a complex puzzle every morning. When can we initiate the comprehensive structural modifications? I inquired during the evening meal on that initial night. The doctor stated that appropriate accessibility is vital for— "Oh, darling," my mother interrupted, exchanging glances with my father. "We are compelled to be practical about expenditures. There is insufficient remaining for all that premium material." Insufficient remaining? The phrases impacted me like frozen liquid. "But the settlement is being managed meticulously," my father stated swiftly, for the benefit of everyone present. The subsequent week, Quentin hosted a ceremonial opening, gathering for his new commercial venture, some form of tech startup involving cryptocurrency and online influencers. I couldn't follow his detailed explanation, but I could certainly trace the monetary trajectory. The gathering was held at his new office in the urban center, all gleaming glass surfaces and modern furnishings. A structure composed of stacked champagne cups sparkled in the corner, and service personnel circulated with expensive small food items. Quite impressive, is it not? Kayla positioned herself alongside my wheelchair, holding a drinking vessel of champagne. Quentin states that the familial support rendered all of this attainable. Is it not remarkable how everyone is uniting? I forced a smile that felt akin to fragmented glass. Yes, remarkable. During my subsequent physical therapy session, I was unable to concentrate. Lucia immediately noted my distraction. "Your thoughts are elsewhere today," she stated, assisting me with my exercises. "Would you like to discuss it?" The entire narrative unfolded: the settlement, the enigmatic banking transfers, Quentin's sudden prosperity. Lucia's hand remained on my lower limb. "Natalie, you realize you still possess entitlements, do you not? That money was designated for your welfare." "I am aware," I whispered. "But what actions can I undertake? They are my familial unit." "Familial connection does not signify they possess ownership of you," she hesitated. "And perhaps you possess greater leverage than you perceive." That evening, I contacted Lena for the first time since my departure from the hospital. "I was wondering when you would communicate with me," she stated. "How much have they appropriated?" "I am uncertain of the precise amount, but Quentin's new office space alone must have cost— Transmit to me everything you can locate," she stated. "Banking records, documentation of transfers, any electronic correspondence you can find. And Natalie, recall that clause we incorporated? It still remains, awaiting activation." Before I could inquire what she meant, my mother entered my room without knocking. "Quentin possesses a surprise for everyone," she announced. "Come to the driveway." There, gleaming beneath the streetlights, sat a brand new, high-performance automobile. Quentin was leaning against it, exhibiting a broad grin akin to a game show contestant. "Quite appealing, is it not?" he called out. "The commercial endeavor is genuinely gaining momentum. This represents merely the commencement," I observed. As my parents lavished attention upon the vehicle, their faces radiating pride, Kayla rapidly captured images for online dissemination. No one appeared to notice or care that I was compelled to position my wheelchair at an awkward angle merely to see beyond them. Subsequently, as everyone proceeded indoors for celebratory libations, I overheard my father and Quentin conversing near the garage. "The insurance payment has been cleared?" Quentin inquired. "Yes, but we are compelled to exercise greater discretion," my father replied. "Let us merely hope she never ascertains the truth." "Relax," Quentin stated. "She is not precisely in a position to undertake any action concerning it." I sat there in the darkness, my hands gripping the armrests of my wheelchair until my knuckles became pale. They believed I was incapable, fragile, merely a burden to be managed. That evening, I sent Lena a text message. "Explain to me about this clause." Her response arrived immediately. "Come to my office tomorrow. It is time you were informed about the detailed conditions of your insurance documentation." I lay in my bed, gazing at the ceiling. I could barely see through the lack of illumination, the identical ceiling beneath which my parents could not afford to install appropriate support rails. Somehow the house creaked and settled around me, and somewhere upstairs, I could discern Quentin's muffled laughter. My phone signaled again, another text message from Lena. "Incidentally, retain every proof of purchase, every banking record, every electronic communication you can find. Document everything. Trust me." For the first time since the incident, I experienced something other than physical discomfort and helplessness, something sharp and cold and clarifying. They believed they could appropriate my future because I was unable to walk. Very well, let them persist in that belief. Let them believe I was merely their symbolic disabled offspring, grateful for the meager scraps of attention and care. They possessed no comprehension of what was approaching. I resolved to offer them one opportunity to disclose the truth. Perhaps there existed an explanation. Perhaps I was in error. I propelled myself using my wheelchair into the living area, where my mother was arranging floral specimens, perpetually maintaining appearances, and my father was simulating perusing printed news. "We need to converse about the settlement capital," I stated quietly. The newspaper crinkled as my father's hands tensed. My mother did not turn around. "Regarding what, darling?" Her voice was overly sweet, a warning veiled in saccharine tone. Where is it located? My mother finally turned, her smile impeccable and well-rehearsed. It is being invested, dear, for the future of the familial unit. My future, I corrected. It was designated for my welfare. And you are being cared for, are you not? She gestured around the room. You possess shelter, sustenance, and a sanitary facility. I can barely utilize. No appropriate therapeutic equipment. No, those items are expensive, my father interjected. We were compelled to make practical determinations, such as procuring a high-performance automobile for Quentin. The room became silent. My mother's smile wavered but remained. Your siblings' commercial ventures will yield benefits for everyone, she stated. The capital will appreciate, and then we can consider those elaborate structural modifications you desire. Do not employ that tone with your maternal figure, my father cautioned. I retrieved my phone, where I had documented everything. The settlement was deposited 4 months ago. Since that time, there have been transfers to a distant state, payments to purveyors of luxury automobiles, and $100,000 to a specific commercial entity. Would you care to clarify that? My mother's smile vanished. Have you been surreptitiously examining our documentation? They are my documents, my capital. You ungrateful small... My mother checked herself. After everything we have contributed for you? Contributed for me? You appropriated from me. We did not appropriate, my father stated firmly. We invested in Quentin, as is customary. As if summoned, my brother appeared in the entryway, Kayla positioned behind him. Regarding what is all this vocal elevation? He inquired, although his subtle, unpleasant smile suggested he possessed full awareness of the situation. Your sibling, my mother retorted, is being dramatic concerning financial matters. Again, Quentin rolled his eyes. You ought to be grateful you at least possess shelter. Are you aware of the expense involved in providing care for you? Not as expensive as your car payments, I retorted. That automobile represents a commercial investment, he sneered. Something you would not comprehend, merely remaining sedentary. Throughout the day. I remain sedentary throughout the day because I cannot finance the therapeutic assistance I require. Oh, here we go with the attempt to induce guilt, Quentin gestured dismissively. You know what? You are fortunate we did not consign you to a care facility. Most familial units would not tolerate this encumbrance. My mother did not even reprimand him for articulating that. She merely stood there, arranging her superfluous floral specimens. I retrieved my phone again and initiated recording. So, to clarify, you all believe it is acceptable to utilize my settlement capital, funds designated for my medical care, to finance Quentin's commercial endeavor? We are not engaging in this discussion, my father stated. Why not? Apprehensive of verbalizing it? The capital is allocated to promising commercial undertakings, my mother insisted. Everything we have performed is for the prospective welfare of this familial unit. My prospective welfare also matters. Your prospective welfare is assured, my father stated. You have us. I laughed, and it was not a mirthful sound. Yes, I possess you, appropriating my capital, treating me as an encumbrance, and anticipating me to express gratitude for it. Later that evening, I overheard them, arguing upstairs. She is becoming suspicious, my father was stating. We are compelled to rectify this before she ascertains everything. Rectify what? My mother snapped. We did what we were compelled to do. Quentin required the capital, and she was not utilizing the money anyway. It was intended for her care. She has care. Fundamental care is sufficient. Quentin possesses genuine potential. He merely requires support to attain success. I transmitted the audio recording to Lena immediately. Her response arrived swiftly. Excellent. Continue accumulating verification. The strategic impediment is nearly prepared. I glanced at my father's tablet, left carelessly on the coffee table. He was never adept with technology or passwords. 3 attempts later, I had gained access to his email. There it was. A record of a financial transfer from my trust to Quentin's personal account. $200,000, labeled as familial investment. I forwarded it to Lena, then propelled myself using my wheelchair back to my room. Through the partition, I could discern Quentin and Kayla sharing laughter about something in the kitchen, likely planning their subsequent leisure excursion with my capital. Just await the outcome, I whispered to myself. Continue sharing laughter, continue expending, continue believing you have prevailed. Because Lena was correct. The strategic impediment was nearly prepared, and none of them anticipated its activation. You are exerting excessive effort, Lucia stated during our therapy session, but I could discern she was impressed. 3 repetitions yesterday, 4 today. I need them to believe I am becoming less capable, I explained, powering through. Another repetition. The more helpless they perceive me to be, the less likely they are to harbor suspicion. Lucia verified the door was closed before speaking. Lena contacted me, inquired if I would provide sworn testimony regarding your reduced therapy schedule and its effect on your recuperation. Will you? She clasped my shoulder. Every word will be factual. At the residence, I performed my role perfectly. I deliberately dropped objects more frequently, requested assistance with basic tasks, acted increasingly dependent. My mother readily accepted the performance, doting over me, as though I were a child. Observe, she informed my father one evening. She is progressing satisfactorily with the fundamental care. We made the correct selection. I recorded that also. Lena's office was my sanctuary. We met weekly, building our legal case piece by piece. The clause possesses elegance in its simplicity, she explained, spreading documents across her desk. If fraudulent utilization of settlement funds is substantiated, the court can authorize seizure of any asset employed as guarantee in the fiduciary agreement. And what asset was that? Her smile was sharp, like a cutting edge. Your parents' residence. They formally transferred ownership as a guarantee when they assumed the role of trustees, likely did not even peruse the detailed conditions. They never do, I stated. They are excessively accustomed to exercising control. Precisely as anticipated, my phone signaled with a text message from my mother. Quinton is hosting an investor assembly at the residence tonight. Kindly remain in your chamber. We need to project a favorable impression. I displayed the message to Lena. She commenced, inputting data on her computing device. Ideal timing, she stated. Because, anticipate this, your sibling's investors are unaware that his commercial entity is being financed with misappropriated medical settlement capital. One anonymous notification to the regulatory body. Not yet, I stated. We require one additional element. That evening, I simulated slumber throughout the investor assembly, but my phone was recording everything through the thin walls. The initial capital originated from familial assistance, Quinton was stating. We believe in investing in our own significant investment, someone commented. Familial figures must genuinely believe in you. Oh, they do, Quinton laughed. Let us merely articulate that we experienced an unexpected financial gain, and we possessed precise understanding of how to deploy it advantageously. The subsequent morning, my parents were conversing in hushed tones in the kitchen. We require an additional 100,000, my father was stating. The initial group of investors desires to observe greater personal commitment. We can secure a second mortgage, my mother suggested. The house possesses ample market value beyond the existing financial obligation. I propelled myself using my wheelchair towards Lucia's office instead of our customary therapy area. They are going to secure another loan, I informed her. Utilizing the residence as collateral. The same residence that is already collateral for your trust, she stated, comprehending immediately. Has Lena been informed? Transmitted a message to her en route here. She states it is perfect. The more financial obligations they accumulate, the greater their decline will be. I exerted supplementary effort in therapy that day, but deliberately exhibited signs of fatigue and struggle when my mother retrieved me. Perhaps we should reduce the frequency of sessions, she suggested, observing me feign discomfort as I transferred to the vehicle. They are clearly excessively taxing for you. Whatever you believe is most beneficial, mother. At the residence, I located my father's tablet again. This time, there existed an email exchange regarding the application for the new loan. He had even attached a visual representation of his official identification for verification. I transmitted everything to Lena. Her response was immediate. Received. All the components are in place. Prepared when you are. I surveyed the residence they had formally transferred ownership of without perusing the detailed conditions, the residence against which they were about to borrow, unaware it was already subject to forfeiture. My phone signaled, again, my mother. Quinton's investors loved the presentation. They are going to fund his subsequent phase. All our sacrifices are finally yielding rewards. I propelled myself using my wheelchair to the window, observing my parents assisting Quinton in loading presentational materials into his high-performance vehicle. They were sharing laughter, celebrating another victory for their favored offspring. Hey, sibling, Quinton called out, noticing me at the window. Gratitude for maintaining quietude last evening. Would not wish your wheelchair ramps to compromise the aesthetic appeal. Indeed, I smiled and waved. Let them persist in believing I was the grateful, silent daughter. Let them persist in believing I was incapable. I opened my laptop and composed a solitary email to Lena. Execute. Her response arrived seconds later. Documentation will be formally submitted in the morning. Are you certain you are prepared? I looked at my reflection in the window. The daughter they believed they could appropriate from. The sibling they believed they could silence. The woman they believed they had broken. I am prepared. The strategic impediment was configured, and tomorrow it would activate decisively. The representative from the financial institution arrived precisely at 9. So, Ms. Parker, her heels clicking on our front walkway. I observed through the window as my mother opened the door, a perfect hostess smile in place. Mrs. Boyd, I am Amanda Torres from First National. I am present regarding the property assessment. My mother's smile wavered. Property assessment? We have not scheduled any such activity. It is a standard operational procedure prior to asset seizure, Amanda explained, consulting her tablet. As per the formal court filing this morning. Court filing? There must be some error. I propelled myself using my wheelchair into the foyer. No error, mother. The color drained from her countenance. Natalie, what actions did you undertake? I safeguarded my prospective future, since you would not. My father emerged from his study, drawn by the commotion. What is transpiring, madam? Sir, Amanda stated, I am required to document the current condition of the property. The court has authorized an assessment in preparation for potential seizure under the Fiduciary Violation Clause 247B. Fiduciary violation? My father's voice ascended in pitch. Which fiduciary violation? The one you triggered when you appropriated my settlement capital, I stated quietly. Recall that documentation you formally transferred ownership of without perusing? The residence was the guarantee. My mother's perfect facade fractured. You are unable to perform this. We are your progenitors. Progenitors do not appropriate from their functionally impaired offspring. We did not appropriate, my mother shrieked. We invested in Quentin's unsuccessful commercial endeavors, in his high-performance vehicle, in everything except my welfare. Amanda cleared her throat. I need to commence the assessment. Kindly refrain from removing any fixtures or undertaking any modifications to the property. Precisely as anticipated, Quentin burst through the front door. Regarding what is this? About a court filing? My investors are experiencing significant distress. Your sibling, my mother retorted, is attempting to seize our residence. Not attempting, I corrected. Taking legally, precisely as you took my prospective future. Quentin advanced towards my wheelchair. You ungrateful small. I would not, a new voice stated. My cousin Darnell stood in the entryway, his substantial physique blocking the light. Recede from her. This constitutes familial affairs, Quentin snapped. Darnell's smile was cold. Precisely why I am present. Familial connection. My mother turned to me, altering her tactics. Her voice became soft, pleading. Darling, exercise reason. Contemplate the ramifications this will have on our standing, on the familial designation. You should have contemplated that prior to depleting my fiduciary arrangement. We can rectify this, my father stated desperately. We will secure a loan, replenish the capital. With what guarantee? I inquired. The residence you already formally transferred ownership of? Or perhaps Quentin's high-performance vehicle? Amanda continued her assessment, capturing visual records and undertaking measurements, seemingly oblivious to the familial drama unfolding around her. This will be the demise of your maternal figure, my father attempted again. As though compelling me to omit therapeutic sessions did not contribute to my decline? As though observing Quentin dissipate my care capital on digital currency did not contribute to my decline? You are being dramatic, Quentin scoffed. I retrieved my phone. Genuinely? Let us hear what you all articulate regarding it. I initiated playback. My mother's voice filled the room. She was not utilizing the capital anyway. Then my father's. We are compelled to rectify this before she ascertains everything. And finally, Quentin's inebriated vows to his investors. Let us merely articulate that we experienced an unexpected financial gain, and we possessed precise understanding of how to deploy it advantageously. The room fell silent, except for the sound of Amanda's camera clicking and her device tapping. You recorded us? My mother whispered. I absorbed knowledge from the most capable source, mother. Perpetually retain verification. Is that not what you imparted to me? The assessment is complete, Amanda announced. You will receive formal documentation within 3 business days. Kindly recall, no modifications to the property. As she departed, Darnell positioned himself behind my wheelchair, a silent guardian. You possess 30 days, I stated quietly. The court will grant you 30 days to vacate. You cannot be serious. Quentin laughed, but there was apprehension in his eyes. Where are we presumed? To go? Perhaps divest yourself of the high-performance vehicle. I hear those digital currency investments are not performing favorably anyway. My mother collapsed onto the steps, her perfect posture finally yielding. Please, Natalie, exercise reason. We can engage in discussion regarding this. As though you discussed with me the expenditure of my settlement? As though you discussed with me the reduction of my therapeutic regimen? As though you discussed anything with me? My father merely stood there, appearing aged and discouraged. We believed we were undertaking the correct course of action. No, I stated, propelling myself using my wheelchair towards my room. You believed I was excessively incapable of retaliating. That represents a profoundly distinct concept. This is not concluded, Quentin called after me. I stopped and turned. Actually, it is. Examine your investor emails. It appears the regulatory body is highly interested in medical settlement, capital being utilized for unauthorized commercial ventures. As I closed my door, I heard my mother begin weeping, not her customary manipulative emotional display, but genuine, profound sorrow. I experienced no sense of culpability. I felt liberated. The court directive arrived on a Tuesday morning. My mother refused to open it, so my father did, his hands unsteady as he ruptured the seal. 30 days, he confirmed, his voice hollow. They are granting us 30 days to vacate. Quentin stormed in, waving his phone. My accounts are frozen, all of them. What actions did you undertake? Me? I raised an eyebrow. I undertook no action. But it appears that utilizing capital obtained through fraudulent means, specifically medical settlement funds, for commercial endeavors is against the law. Who could have anticipated? You have ruined everything, he shouted. My investors are withdrawing. Kayla is contemplating a separation. The regulatory body, I interrupted, is investigating the source of your startup capital. It is quite amusing how circumstances unfold. My mother appeared in the entryway, appearing as though she had aged a decade overnight. I just concluded, A telephonic conversation with the country club. They have suspended our membership pending the legal situation. Not the country club, I exclaimed mockingly. How ever shall we endure? You are causing the demise of your maternal figure's spirit, she whispered. No, mother, you caused the demise of mine first, repeatedly. Every instance you prioritized Quentin over my well-being. A loud impact emanating from the upper level caused us all to start. Darnell, who had assumed the role of my unofficial protector, appeared at the top of the stairs. Your sibling's associate is removing her belongings, he reported, and is also appropriating some familial jewelry. What? My mother ran upstairs, her social embarrassment temporarily forgotten. Quentin's face became pale. She wouldn't, would she? But she did, Darnell smiled. I observed her packaging your grandmother's pearls in that vintage timepiece, stated something regarding compensation for time elapsed. Those were not hers to take, my mother's voice shrieked from above. Similar to my settlement, I called. Back. It was not yours to take. My father sank into a chair, appearing defeated. Natalie, please, we can devise a resolution. The residence has been within the familial lineage for generations. You should have contemplated that prior to formally transferring its ownership. Did you even peruse the detailed conditions of the trust agreement? His silence constituted an adequate response. Quentin paced the room like an animal in confinement. This is merely malicious intent, pure malicious intent. No, I corrected him. This represents repercussions. Recall when you stated I ought to be grateful you did not place me in a care facility, that I was fortunate to possess shelter? Well, now it is my shelter. The doorbell sounded. Darnell answered it, discovering Lena standing there with a contractor. Trust you do not mind, she stated brightly, entering. We are merely here to measure for the structural modifications, complete accessibility enhancement, appropriate ramps for wheelchairs, altered bathroom fixtures. You are unable to perform this, my mother stated, returning downstairs. We have not even completed vacating yet. Merely planning ahead, Lena replied. 30 days passed quickly. The contractor moved through the house, undertaking measurements and making notations. He passed Quentin's room precisely as Kayla emerged, dragging a substantial bag. Retain the timepiece, she spat at him. Divest yourself of it. You will require the capital more than I. My mother followed her, pleading. Kayla, darling, those represent familial artifacts. Familial? Kayla laughed with bitterness. You refer to the familial unit that appropriated from their own offspring? The familial unit that is on the verge of homelessness? No gratitude. I am withdrawing. She stormed past all of us, the front door closing forcefully behind her. My father finally spoke, his voice fragmented. I apologize, Natalie. I ought to have intervened to prevent this, ought to have safeguarded you. But you did not, I stated quietly. You never did. What is your desire? My mother inquired. Capital? We will locate a method to reimburse you. I desire what was already rightfully mine, I stated. My settlement, my autonomy, my prospective future. And our prospective future? Quentin demanded. Where are we presumed to go? Perhaps attempt one of those economically priced apartment units you stated would be adequate for me, I suggested. The ones you proposed when you wished to divest. Yourself of this residence for your commercial endeavor? The contractor completed his measurements and approached me. We can commence work in approximately 5 weeks. Complete accessibility throughout, a therapeutic space in a converted bedroom, everything adhering to medical standards. Perfect, I stated. That is precisely what the settlement was designated for in the initial instance. My mother commenced, weeping again, but I had developed immunity to her emotional display. They were merely liquid now, not instigators of guilt. Lena gently touched my shoulder. Require anything further today? I surveyed my family, my mother's countenance marred. By cosmetic application, my father's posture indicative of defeat, Quentin's ineffective fury. The individuals who believed they could appropriate my prospective future because I was unable to ambulate. No, I stated. I believe everything is precisely where it ought to be. The contractor's pen scratched against his notepad, measuring out my new prospective future in linear units. Every marking represented a triumph, every numerical value, a progression towards autonomy. They had taken everything from me. Now, I was reclaiming it. The day designated for relocation arrived accompanied by an overcast sky and intermittent precipitation. I observed from the front window as my father loaded containers into their rented conveyance. My mother had not yet emerged from the residence, still performing a demonstration of her devastation. Require assistance with that? Darnell called out to my father, who was struggling with a heavy container. We do not require your charitable assistance, my mother snapped, finally appearing with her designer handbag clutched like a protective object. Was not offering any, Darnell replied smoothly. Merely contemplated you might wish to avoid damaging your valuable porcelain. Quentin appeared last, carrying only a small travel bag. His high-performance vehicle was already absent, divested to cover legal fees and reimbursements to investors. Content now? He inquired, glaring at me. Achieved? Your retribution. This is not retribution, I stated. This represents impartiality. Continue reiterating that to yourself, He aggressively kicked a container. You have destroyed this familial unit. No, I stated. You all accomplished that when you misappropriated from me. My mother approached my wheelchair, making one final attempt. Darling, there remains opportunity to reconsider. Contemplate your actions. Contemplate maternal affection. Maternal affection? I interrupted her. Was it maternal affection when you canceled my therapy sessions to finance Quentin's office furnishings? Was it maternal affection when you observed me struggling in a bathroom I could barely utilize while expending my settlement on his unsuccessful ventures? We were endeavoring to secure everyone's prospective future. My father paused in his loading. Natalie, please, your maternal figure's emotional state. Do not, I cautioned. Do not dare portray me as the antagonist here. You possessed options. You exercise them. These are the repercussions. Lucia arrived at that moment, carrying supplies for our afternoon therapy session. She would be utilizing the newly modified bedroom, my former bedroom, as a suitable therapeutic space. Perfect timing, I stated. You can assist me in reviewing the renovations. This is still our residence, my mother protested weakly. Not anymore, Lena stated, appearing with the conclusive documentation. As of midday today, the property transfers fully to Natalie. You are required to vacate by 2 p.m. My mother collapsed onto a chair, one of the few remaining pieces of furniture. Where did we deviate? Would you prefer the list arranged chronologically or alphabetically? I inquired. You harbor such animosity in your core being, she whispered. No, mother, this is not animosity, this is equilibrium. This is what transpires when you regard your offspring as a financial resource and anticipate her to express gratitude for it. Quentin stormed out, forcefully closing the door hard enough to cause the glass to vibrate. Through the glass, I observed him walking away, no car to drive off in, no girlfriend to flee to, no investors to provide financial rescue. My father concluded loading the final container. The apartment unit is not substantial, but we will manage. Like I was compelled to manage? I inquired, with inadequate care and empty promises. He looked at me for a significant duration. I failed you. I perceive that now. Yes, you did, I stated. I apologize. I am aware, I replied, but apologies do not compensate for the therapy sessions I missed or the autonomy you appropriated. My mother finally assumed an upright posture, straightening her designer garments, likely the last ones she would be able to afford for a period. This residence has been within our familial lineage for generations. And now it is within my segment of the familial lineage, I stated. The segment you disregarded while pursuing Quentin's aspirations. They departed quietly after that, the rented conveyance emitting a sputtering sound as it came to life in the driveway. I observed them withdrawing. My mother not looking back, my father checking the rearview mirror one final instance. Lucia propelled my wheelchair through the residence, now equipped with appropriate ramps, wider doorways, and all the structural modifications that should have been undertaken months prior. How does it feel? She inquired. Like impartiality. Darnell commenced introducing my new medical apparatus, a proper therapy bed, exercise machinery, everything the settlement should have financed in the initial instance. The postal delivery arrived as we were arranging the equipment. Among the envelopes was a communication from a funeral home. I opened it with unsteady fingers. Your maternal ancestor's sibling Margaret passed away last week, Lena explained, having prior knowledge of the event. She bequeathed something to you. Inside was a formal notification of inheritance, a subsequent opportunity for financial security, but there existed a stipulation, complete severance of connections with my mother. She was aware, I whispered. My grandmother's sibling was aware of their actions. What are you going to undertake? Lucia inquired. I surveyed my residence, truly mine now, configured for my requirements, not their avarice. The therapeutic chamber awaited, appropriately equipped. The accessible bathroom gleamed. Everything was precisely as it ought to have been from the commencement. I illuminated a candle in the window, observing the small flame flickering. The inheritance correspondence awaited my resolution, but I was not prepared to provide it, not yet. Certain selections I had learned merited a period of contemplation. The autumnal air rustled through my newly installed automated access points as I propelled myself using my wheelchair into my home office. My laptop displayed a fresh email from Lena, another updated status regarding Quentin's legal difficulties. The regulatory body's inquiry had expanded, and his investors were initiating their own legal actions. My phone signaled, a text message from my mother. Your sibling might be compelled to declare financial insolvency. Please, we require assistance. I placed the phone down without replying. The preceding 3 messages had been analogous. Requests for financial assistance, attempts to induce culpability, desperate bargaining. The doorbell signaled. Darnell answered it, then announced, "It is Lucia and someone else." I propelled myself using my wheelchair into the living area to discover Lucia standing with a young woman using a wheelchair. "This is Sarah," Lucia stated. "Recall how we discussed utilizing a segment of the residence as a therapeutic facility for others?" Sarah smiled nervously. "I heard what you accomplished. Standing up to your family in that manner, it provided me with the fortitude to contend in my own insurance battle." Before I could respond, another text message arrived, this time from my father. "Observed your interview in the publication dedicated to disability rights. Proud of you. I am aware that does not compensate for anything. It was correct. It did not. Come, I instructed Sarah, guiding her to the therapeutic chamber. Permit me to demonstrate to you the appearance of appropriate accessibility. As Lucia commenced their session, I propelled myself using my wheelchair to my office to complete some tasks. I had secured a remote position advocating for patients, assisting others in navigating the complex medical system. I had absorbed the necessity of contention. The postal delivery arrived, another communication from the funeral home regarding my grandmother's siblings' inheritance. The deadline for formally accepting the conditions was approaching. A knocking at the door interrupted my thoughts. Through the security monitoring apparatus, I observed Kayla standing there, shifting nervously. What is your objective? I inquired, through the intercom. To express remorse, she stated, and to return something. I permitted her entry. She placed my grandmother's pearls on my desk. I was experiencing emotional distress, she explained. Regarding Quentin, regarding your parents, regarding everyone. But appropriating these was incorrect. Why return them now? Because I observed your interview also, regarding contending for what is rightfully yours. It compelled me to recognize I was merely acting out of petty resentment. Unlike them, you chose to act correctly. She nodded. Quentin is employed at an insurance organization now, entry level. Your mother is divesting herself of her designer garments online. Your father, she hesitated. He is actually undergoing therapy, states he requires understanding of why he failed. You. I had not possessed awareness of that final detail. After she departed, I contacted Lena. I have arrived at a determination regarding my grandmother's siblings' inheritance, I informed her. And I am formally accepting it, but I wish to utilize a portion of it to establish a charitable entity for others such as myself, individuals contending for their entitlement to appropriate care. Lena noted that my mother would not find being formally disassociated agreeable. My mother ceased possessing influence over my existence when she prioritized Quentin's aspirations over my necessities. That evening, as Sarah concluded her therapy session, she paused by my workspace. Gratitude, she stated, not merely for sharing your space, but for demonstrating to me that retaliation is not incorrect. I contemplated my mother's text messages, my father's therapy sessions, Quentin's new humble existence, and Kayla's returned pearls. Retaliation is not incorrect, I agreed, but neither is advancing forward. I retrieved my phone and composed a response to my father. Proud is insufficient, but modification might represent a commencement. Then I propelled myself using my wheelchair to the front window, the identical window where I had once observed helplessly as they dissipated my prospective future. Now I observed Sarah navigating her wheelchair down my appropriately graded ramp, proceeding towards her own prospective future, strengthened by having witnessed my example. Lucia appeared beside me. Prepared for your session? Actually, I stated, I believe I am prepared for everything. I formally endorsed the inheritance acceptance documents that evening, appending my plans for the charitable entity as a codicil. My grandmother's sibling would have appreciated that, utilizing capital to assist others in contending, in asserting their entitlements, in demanding improved circumstances. The residents creaked softly around me, but it was not the sound of concealed matters anymore. It was the sound of impartiality, of repercussions, of fortitude. My phone illuminated one final instance, a text message from an unrecognized number. Observed your interview. I am contending against my parents also. They believe my disability signifies they can control my settlement. Can you provide assistance? I smiled and composed a reply. Yes, and I possess precise understanding of where to commence. Because that is the appearance of impartiality. Not merely prevailing in your individual conflict, but assisting others in prevailing in theirs. I never desired retribution. I desired what they had appropriated from me, command over my own prospective future. It appears that regaining the residence was merely the initiation.